So you're doing some 10 pulls on the current banner and you get 4-star Sacrificial Fragments. I'm going to be calling it Sac Frags probably a lot through this video. So in this video, we are going to be looking at this weapon, what it does, and who it can be good for. So let's look at its stats real quick. It does get up Elemental Mastery. This one is level 90 at R5, and it has 221 EM, which is going to be really good for some characters. So its passive, after damaging an enemy with the skill has an 80% chance to end its own cooldown. Again, this is at R5. This can happen once every 16 seconds. Who can this weapon be good for? Well, it can be very, very good for Sucrose. In fact, it is one of Sucrose's best weapon. Because of her passive, Sucrose can share her EM with other party members whenever she uses her skill or her burst. So having a ton of EM on Sucrose is going to be very, very good because you can give some of that EM to your other characters, meaning in a vape or melt team, you can invest less into your pyro or hydro or cryo damage dealers EM and just borrow Sucrose's. Sucrose's elemental mastery instead of investing into it on that specific character. So we are going to let Sucrose use this weapon. We are going to go hit these enemies with her skill. You're going to see it just reset. Now I do have 2 tick marks above my skill here because I have some cons on Sucrose. It took me a year and a half to get a single Sucrose, and now I have cons on her. As you can see here, it is going to reset the skill, like I said, once every 16 seconds. That 80% chance, I've really almost never had it not. Now this passive is a lot like other sacrificial weapons, however, most other sacrificial weapons give you ER, not EM. So Sacrificial Fragments is different, slightly different, than all of the other sac weapons because of that EM. Now, who else can this weapon be good on? Well, next we have the Radish Archon Nahida. If you do not have Nahida's signature, Sac Frags is phenomenal. Not necessarily because of the passive, Nahida can't necessarily use the passive that well, but the amount of elemental mastery that it gives Nahida is going to be great. Nahida's skill already has a really short cooldown anyway. It's like 6 seconds and it lasts so long. So having the cooldown reset is not going to be very beneficial to Nahida. Just that elemental mastery is going to be insane though. If you do not have Nahida's signature, Sac Frags is the way to go on Nahida. Now another more obscure, obtuse, not standard character to use Sac Frags on, I like it on Yae Miko. I like using Yae Miko as an on-field Hyperbloom driver. Because her skill cannot reliably trigger Hyperblooms, you do have to run Yae Miko on-field for the reliability of triggering Hyperblooms. Yae Miko also has a passive that the more her EM is up, the more her skill damages. Now, having pure EM stats is not going to out damage like attack or golden troop, like, you know, 2-piece glad, 2-piece golden troop, but having extra EM can be good for her, especially in a quick bloom team, especially as an on-field hyper bloom driver. I really like Yae Miko in this scenario. I really like her in this team. You can use her skill to kind of dodge around as long as you have off-field Dendro and off-field Hydro, which Koko is not doing that good on, but we'll actually talk about Koko later. And again, Yae Miko is not one of those characters that can use its passive very well, mainly just the EM. Now we're going to look at a character like Klee. Now a character like Klee, her skill does have a longer cooldown, so she can make use of this passive, and she is one of these instances where in a Vapor Melt team, if you had this on her and a good enough crit split, then you could basically get all of your wanted EM from this weapon and focus on attack, crit rate, crit damage, ER for the rest of her substats, rest of her artifacts. You can almost avoid giving her elemental mastery because this weapon gives her the 200 that you would want to maximize vape and melt reactions. So this can be a good option for her, especially if you don't have something like Solar Pearl or Widzith or something like that. This can be a good option for her specifically in a vape or melt team, or like an over vape team could also be okay. Now we're gonna quickly run through 2 characters, Heizou specifically in a swirl like rainbow team, right? Where you're using Heizou built full EM to swirl as many elements together as possible, allowing the swirls to cause reactions. that damage is going to be calculated off of Heizou's, almost said Heizou again, Heizou's Elemental Mastery. So this can be a very, very good option for him, especially resetting that skill. If you were to be using his normal attacks and getting his charging mechanism up. I don't think I've ever made a video on Heizou. Getting his kind of charging stacking mechanism up for his skill, this can be good. He can use it. It's not going to be like super good, but he can use the skill cooldown reset. Another quick one will be Lisa. Using her as like an on-field quick bloom driver can actually be good. I'm throwing this in here because actually Doggy, my editor earlier, sent me a video of him using Lisa in the Abyss. And I was like, let me include Lisa on this video, right? So Doggy, this one's for you. Yeah, it's about it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there. So Lisa does get EM on Ascension. This can just give her a little bit more, and because the hold skill, her hold variant of her skill has a really long cooldown, she can use the reset from this. Now we're gonna talk about my favorite use of this weapon, and that is on, I'm gonna leave that in there too, Koko. My Koko. This is where this level 90 R5 sac frags stays on my Kokomi. Why? Because my Koko is going to be an on-field Hydro Bloom driver for Nilou Bountiful Core. She can most definitely use that that skill cooldown reset because of how long her cooldown is for Mr. Jellyfish. She can have permanent uptime with the Jellyfish, or near permanent uptime if timed correctly, with the passive from this weapon. Right now she has about 890 EM running a 4-piece Flowers of Paradise Lost set. When Doggy and I were in co-op the other day doing a Nilou Bountiful Core team, I was able to get Koko's EM up to over 1400, as seen by the screenshot right here. And then the other day, again, we were in a different co-op. We were doing a different Bountiful Core, and I was able to get her to 1555. I don't have a screenshot of that, but that was really cool, and I can't wait to do that with my own Koko at level 90. Making 40k Bountiful Core blooms is going to be absolutely amazing, especially with C2 Nilou, because I am going to start to wail a little on Nilou. That is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or someone else, be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.